I never thought the reason my marriage would end was something I never chose, something I never caused, something I could never change. But life writes its own rules, and sometimes those rules break you quietly. We were married for 3 years, 3 gentle years, 3 years filled with ordinary days that felt like blessings. He wasn't a loud man. He was calm, steady, the kind of person who spoke only when words mattered. I loved that about him in the beginning. But love changes shape when pain enters the room. From the very first month after the wedding, we knew children would be our greatest dream. We spoke about baby names like we were choosing flowers. He imagined a garden, I imagined laughter in the hallways. And every month we waited. But waiting slowly turned into silent wishing. Doctor visits became routine, not dramatic, just recurring hope with soft disappointment collecting at our feet like dust. No one sweeps, but everyone sees. Every report said the same thing, gentle medical language that felt brutal in meaning. I could not conceive. My body wasn't angry. It wasn't sick. It just said no. I remember the day he held the report in his hand. The fan was spinning slowly above us. The room was warm, too warm for the cold truth we were sitting with. He didn't slam the paper. He didn't curse. He sat down, calm, quiet, and said, "I don't think I can live a life without kids." Even now, those words echoed differently. Not loud, like anger, but deep, like truth spoken too politely to argue with. I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I understood the kind of pain that doesn't shout. Outside our window, rain tapped softly against the glass. Slow, rhythmless. The sky felt like it was crying on my behalf because I couldn't bring myself to do it right then. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, turned on the tap. I let the water run longer than needed, washing dishes that were already clean, because heartbreak hates stillness, and movement was the only answer I had left. Love hadn't died between us. That's what hurt the most. What broke us wasn't hatred or betrayal or another woman. What broke us was an empty cradle in a home full of unspoken longing. Silence can be heavier than screaming. Calm can be sharper than chaos. And a goodbye can feel final, even when the door closes gently. Sometimes, life doesn't rip you apart. It tells you to step aside, quietly, politely, with the kind of sadness that never apologizes for existing. And that is where my story truly begins. Not with noise, not with blame, but with a woman learning how to breathe again after losing the future she was preparing herself for every night.
I grew up believing love was rooted in patience, the kind of love that stays even when life shakes. My parents were simple people with strong hearts. They taught me that family is not perfect, it just needs loyalty and care. So when I fell in love, I didn't love halfway. I loved with certainty, with gentle faith, with a heart that believed one person could be enough for a lifetime. We met through a mutual friend. He was kind in the quietest ways. He opened car doors, remembered small details, listened more than he spoke. Nothing flashy, just honest care. He wanted a home filled with kids someday, and I wanted to build that with him. In the early years of our marriage, things were calm and warm. Our house was small but cozy. I spent most mornings in the kitchen. That became my happy place. The smell of tea and warm bread, the soft hum of everyday life, morning light falling on the countertops like a blessing. Every weekend we visited his parents. His mother was gentle too, but firm in her own beliefs. She meant no harm in the beginning. She wanted grandchildren one day. That was her honest hope. And at that time, we all believed that hope would come true. I remember evenings at the family table, dinner plates full, but the room fuller. We spoke about holiday trips, birthdays, family gatherings we would plan when the kids came. My heart would smile inside. Even if my body hadn't shown signs yet, my heart already felt like a mother preparing to bloom. Month after month, tests stayed negative, but I kept hoping, not loudly, just silently. Quiet hope is powerful too. Maybe too powerful, because when it breaks, it shatters inward, not outward. I never felt less of a woman at first. My husband never made me feel small in the beginning. He held my hand at appointments, waited beside me in hospital corridors with calm respect. We were sad together then, not divided, not lost, just waiting, side by side. I believed motherhood would come gently one day, like spring arriving without announcement, not forced, not rushed, just born from time and grace. Even now, when I look back at those days, there is no hate, no blame, only soft sorrow, remembering a time when love was still mine, before fertility became a question mark over our marriage, before silence turned heavy, before heartbreak learned to whisper. I didn't know then that the world would try to measure me by something my body could not give. I only knew that I still had love in me, a full well of it, quiet but deep. And even when my womb felt empty, my heart never stopped carrying warmth. That warmth would soon find its place in a story I never planned. If you were touched by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Thank you.
The tension didn't arrive suddenly. It walked into our homes softly, like footsteps you hear but can't stop. At first, it lived in the quiet pauses, the moments between speaking, the long sighs, the muted thinking behind tired eyes. Nothing dramatic, just a gradual heaviness forming shape. People around us began asking the same question again and again, usually with voices dipped in concern but coded in curiosity. So, any good news yet? I would smile politely, shake my head gently, and say, "Not yet, but we're praying." Praying became my protective blanket. But even blankets get thin when pulled on too often. One morning, my husband came out of the bedroom while I was pouring tea. He stood at the doorway watching me quietly. No anger, no accusation, just a calm sadness I couldn't interpret fully yet. "My mom keeps talking about grandchildren," he said. "She only wants to see us happy," I answered softly. He nodded, but his eyes carried a question his words didn't form. The kind of question silence asks better than language. Even family dinners began shifting tone. His mother never raised her voice. She never complained in front of others. But one evening, she reached across the table, touched my hand gently, and said, "God chooses our path, yes, but you must also think of his dreams." Her voice was calm, yet it pierced so quietly that arguing felt noisy and unnecessary. I carried that sentence home like a stone in my pocket. I started noticing small changes. He lingered longer in the children's section when we walked past stores. He watched families in the park more closely than the sunset. Not cheating, not betrayal, just a heart grieving a future it couldn't live with me. One night, as we sat on the couch with the TV playing low, I whispered, "I wish we could give us what we hoped for." He responded, "I know. I really know." Those words sounded like comfort, but they also sounded like a quiet surrender I wasn't ready to accept yet. I began speaking to God more than to people, because heaven listens without interrupting, and the world listens only to measure. The house stayed calm, but calm can be misleading. Not all storms shout. Some simply stay too quiet for too long. And in that quiet, loss began drawing lines between us. Faint at first, then real, then unavoidable. I still loved him through it all. That was never the problem. But small, unspoken disappointment was becoming louder than the love we once built our home on. Not spoken, only felt. Conflict doesn't always scream. Sometimes it sits politely at the table, waiting until one day it becomes the only seat left.
The moment that finally changed everything did not come with shouting. There were no slammed doors at first, no public arguments. Just a calm sentence that carried the sound of an ending I had been fearing quietly for months. It was a Tuesday evening, and the sky was clear this time. No rain, no thunder. Maybe that was life's way of showing me that endings can happen even in silence, even in calm weather. We were sitting at the table again, not because the conversation was planned, but because the truth always finds its stage eventually, even if the stage is small and ordinary. He took a long breath, slow, thoughtful. He rubbed his fingers together like someone preparing to hold something fragile, something heavy. "I love you," he said, almost like he was reading the line from a distant memory. "But I can't keep staying in a life where I will never be a father." His voice was calm, but the words fell like iron feathers. Soft landing, heavy weight. I didn't interrupt. I didn't try to argue. Some truths are spoken so gently that resisting them feels cruel, even when they hurt you. I looked down at my teacup, swirling slowly like it was trying to absorb the moment for me. I whispered, "And I can't give you that dream, no matter how much I want to." That was it. No anger, no blame, only recognition of something too big for us both. His mother had planted no hatred, no conspiracy. She had only spoken his truth for him when he was too kind to speak it out loud. Love was not gone in our home. That is what made it more painful. Because we weren't divorcing because we hated each other. We were letting go because the future refused to grow between us. We sat there for a moment, the clock ticking gently in the background, marking the last seconds of a story we once thought was forever. He reached for my hand, not tightly, just softly, like someone saying goodbye to a dream, not a person. He said, "I'm sorry." I didn't cry. I simply nodded. Don't apologize for wanting to be a father. It was never a sin. I packed slowly that night, folding clothes gently, stacking memories politely in boxes no one wanted to open again. When I closed the door behind me, it didn't echo, because silence was already living there before I left. That door didn't close because love died. It closed because love was no longer enough to build a tomorrow on. Some endings don't destroy you loudly. They reshape you quietly for the life waiting ahead. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Your support helps emotional stories like this reach more hearts. Thank you for listening. For a full month after the divorce, my life felt like a hallway with no direction. Not dark, not hopeless, just uncertain. I moved through days quietly, like someone borrowing the rhythm of breathing from memory. I didn't expect anything to change. I didn't even want big change yet. Healing had just begun, slow and gentle, like a wound learning fresh air. Then a letter arrived. It was a thick envelope, heavy in my hands, but light in color, cream white, clean, business style. On the front, no emotional words, just a name I had only heard in distance before, Everlyn Industries. My heart paused in soft surprise. Not fear, not excitement either, just the quiet spark of curiosity waking up. Everlyn Industries was a company people spoke about with admiration. Big buildings, large charity projects.
A man behind it with a serious mind, steady heart, calm leadership. A company that didn't just grow wealth, but gave it away too. Why would they send me a letter? I sat by the window holding it while the afternoon sun warmed the paper gently. For a minute, I didn't open it. I just respected the moment of possibility knocking without noise. Finally, I broke the seal. We would like to invite you for a personal meeting with our CEO regarding a role in our social development division. No mention of my past, no question about children, no sharp reminders of infertility, just a door I didn't know was being built for me. I felt something soften in my chest. Not butterflies, no fairy tale spark, just dignity returning with gentle steps. The interview room was large, but warm-lit, the kind of lighting editors later call cinematic. Sun falling through tall glass windows, long shadows, calm scale of new beginnings. I noticed details because pain teaches you to see again. Then he walked in, the CEO himself. Tall, composed, his suit dark but soft-textured, not intimidating. His eyes tired in the way of someone who carries responsibility, not judgment. He didn't start with questions about my degrees or skills. He looked at me like he already saw a story written behind my posture. You carry yourself like a woman who had to stand strong, even when she was breaking. His voice was calm, empathetic, steady. No pity, just recognition. I whispered, "Sometimes strength is the only seat left to sit on." He nodded deeply, understanding more than the sentence itself. He smiled softly, like someone opening a window, not interrogating it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt invited into life, not because of what I lost, but because I was still standing after losing it.
The CEO didn't rush into decisions that day. He let silence finish speaking before he answered it, and that already told me he was different from every person who had measured me before. A week later, I received another invitation. Not for a job interview this time, but for a small charity dinner hosted by Everlyn Industries. It wasn't business. It was personal, in a gentle, respectful way, like life quietly saying, "Come sit with people who rebuild, not break." When I arrived, the place felt warm, calm, human. Soft lights, gentle piano music in the background, people talking quietly, hearts louder than voices. No pressure, no sharp questions, just the comfort of presence. Then I saw Liam, a small boy sitting beside the CEO, reading a book with complete focus, like the world could collapse and he would still finish the chapter first. He had polite posture, clean little shoes, calm silence of a child who has known loss too early. The CEO noticed my eyes resting softly on the boy and said, "He carries a quiet heart, just like you do." I whispered, "Maybe quiet hearts find each other because the world is too noisy for them." He nodded gently. "This is Liam, my son," he said. Liam looked up slowly, like someone calling his soul's name, not just his attention. He studied my face with honest eyes and said, "You look kind." No title, no fertility questions, no judgment, just heart-first recognition. "Thank you, sweetheart. I try," I replied quietly. I later learned that Liam lost his mother 2 years ago. Not through betrayal, not through war, just tragedy that walked in quietly, stolen by illness at midnight like a candle fading before morning. The CEO became a single dad overnight. No chaos, just responsibility wrapping itself around grief. He told me this softly later, away from the crowd, on the balcony while the night breathed gently around the city. She fought hard to stay alive long enough to see his first day at school. And she did. But after that, life said her job was finished. His voice was calm, but heavy with unshed quiet rain. I said gently, "Some parents leave the world, but never the child. They just change form." His eyes softened with full understanding. Watching Liam beside him helped me see the CEO not as a powerful man in a tall building, but a father still standing inside a life that had asked too much from him. Gently. Liam didn't talk much, but every time he looked at me, it felt like his heart was saying, "Sit here. You belong in the gentle parts of life." And, for the first time, I realized something quietly beautiful. Connection is not always romance. Sometimes it's two wounded souls recognizing each other without touching the scars. Sometimes family starts with silence that finally feels safe. If this story touched your soul, please support the channel by like, share, and subscribe my channel. Your love helps more stories reach the hearts that need them. Thank you for listening.
By this point in my life, I had stopped expecting rescue. I had learned that healing doesn't always come as a loud reward. Sometimes it arrives calmly, like a question asked at the right time. I was working at Everlyn Industries now, officially hired, and though the building was tall and the responsibility was big, the environment was always calm, respectful, human, almost like the walls had been trained to speak softly. Liam would sometimes visit the office after school. He never ran around like restless kids do. He sat quietly in the visitor's lounge, reading his book while his father worked, flipping pages slowly, respectfully, like tiny wings moving in silence. Sometimes I'd walk past the lounge carrying files, and he would lift his eyes gently from the book, smile, and then continue reading without forcing conversation. And I started smiling back without realizing I was doing it. One evening after office hours, his father called me into his room. It wasn't a command. It felt more like a calm pause in the day asking to be filled. He stood by the window looking at the city lights, breathing softly below. Then he spoke without any rush. "You know," he said, "I used to believe families had to look a certain way." I didn't interrupt. I just listened, letting his words take their natural shape. "But life changed my faith," he continued. "Liam doesn't need perfection. He just needs love that stays." He turned toward me, steady eyes, gentle voice. "And you love without demanding anything back. That's rare." I whispered, "Maybe because life already empty-handed me once, so I learned to hold gently, not tightly." He nodded with calm understanding. No sympathy, no shock, just acknowledgement. Then came the sentence I didn't expect. Not forced, not packaged in romance, just delivered like a warm truth. "Lynn, blood gives life, but love gives childhood. Would you ever consider building family without measuring what biology can or can't give?" He paused then, a respectful pause. Then he said, "Liam talks about you sometimes, not as someone who replaces his mother, but someone who feels safe around the soft parts of life." My heart didn't race. It softened, like warm wax remembering shape again. I whispered, "I may not be able to give children, but I think I still know how to raise one with love." And he smiled, a smile calm enough to trust, warm enough to walk toward. This wasn't adoption paperwork yet. This wasn't a proposal. This was a gentle invitation to belong somewhere without being measured by loss. And when life asks you to step into love without conditions, that moment becomes the real turning point worth stepping into. If this story reached your heart, your support can help it reach others too. Stay with us for the resolution.
I never imagined that motherhood would find me through silence, not destiny. Not through a womb carrying life, but through a heart carrying love. Life doesn't always give you what you planned. Sometimes it gives you what you were becoming. Working at Everlyn Industries changed me slowly,
Not with applause, not with grand celebrations, but with a gentle rhythm of purpose. I wasn't hired because I was broken. I was hired because I remained calm and kind after breaking. That was my new strength, the quiet kind. Liam became a small part of my everyday life without anyone forcing it. Some afternoons, I would sit with him in the office lounge while his father finished meetings. I helped him sharpen pencils, untie stubborn shoelaces, pour juice carefully into cups too small for adult hands. Tiny, ordinary moments. But ordinary moments matter when the heart is starving quietly. At first, he called me Auntie Lynn. No pressure, just comfort. He said it slowly at first, like testing a word for its warmth. Then one day, it came naturally, without hesitation, without fear. His father never pushed the idea of replacing his mother. That made everything feel safe. He understood that loss cannot be replaced, only honored by new love. And that understanding opened a door gently enough for me to walk through without feeling like I was stealing someone's place. One evening, after a long charity event, we were all standing outside the company building. The wind was soft, the city was quieting down, cars moving slowly like lullabies for grown-ups. Liam tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Do you think Mom sends angels to help people who are sad but don't say it?" I knelt beside him and said, "I think she might, and maybe that's how hearts meet the ones they need." He hugged me then, not dramatically, just a short, honest, child-size hug, but it filled a space in me that infertility had not deserved to empty. Later that night, his father thanked me calmly. "No one teaches kindness, they just live it. Thank you for living it where Liam could feel it." I smiled softly and said, "Maybe love was always meant to grow here, just not in the way I expected." I still carry sorrow for the marriage I lost, but regret has softened into wisdom now. Grief and joy can sit in the same heart without fighting for volume. They can share space quietly, like night and morning greeting without protest. I may not be a mother by birth, but I am becoming one by presence, patience, understanding, and calm love given with both hands open, never clenched. And I finally learned the gentle truth. A woman is not empty because she cannot give life. She is whole if she can still give love a home to grow in. If this story touched your heart, please support the channel by like, share, and subscribe my channel. Your support helps emotional, real-life stories like this reach the hearts that need hope. Thank you so much for listening.